Have you ever felt like you're living, but inside, something is dying? Have you ever woken up with your body intact, but your heart in pieces? Have you ever looked in the mirror and seen a face that looks like yours, but the eyes don't shine anymore? If you've ever had this feeling, even for just a few seconds, maybe your soul is trying to tell you something. Maybe deep down, something inside you is screaming for help, but you haven't been listening. It's just that the soul doesn't speak like the mouth. She doesn't scream as the ears understand. The soul expresses itself in silences, in presentiments, in sadness that no one sees. And when she starts asking for help, the first ones to feel it are ourselves. But almost always we ignore it. We say it's just stress, that it's just a phase, that will pass. And meanwhile, what is dying inside becomes weaker, more faded, more forgotten. Have you ever felt this way? Tired of everything, even without having done anything? Have you ever wanted to disappear, not out of cowardice, but because you no longer see the point? Have you ever felt that no one understands you, that no one listens to you, that you are surrounded by people, but yet you feel absolutely alone? Have you ever been to a place full of life, but felt like you yourself were devoid of life at all? These are silent signs that your soul is asking for help. It's not cool, it's not an exaggeration, it's not drama, it's real, and it needs to be heard. When the soul starts to get sick, it sends messages, and the body feels it, the mind feels, emotions disorganize, the world loses color, and everything that once cheered you up, it doesn't touch you anymore. Have you noticed this? What used to give you pleasure, gave you peace, calmed you down now no longer works. What used to make you smile now seems distant. You try to force joy, you try to fake strength, you try to look good, but you know that inside something is broken. And the worst thing is that often no one notices, because the suffering soul knows how to hide. She wears fake smiles. She says it's okay even when she's falling apart, and behind the good morning, the everything is fine, the we'll talk later, is a heart that just wanted to be heard. I just wanted to be seen. I just wish someone would say, I know you're not okay and it's okay not to be. But help doesn't always come from outside. Most of the time, it is the soul itself that tries to awaken us, with strange symptoms, with a sadness that comes from nowhere, with anxiety attacks in places where there was peace before, with physical pain that doctors can't explain, with a silent anguish that appears in the middle of the afternoon and no one understands. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever felt that feeling of suffocation in your chest, of a lump in your throat, of wanting to cry and not even knowing why? The soul begins to scream when you move away from who you are, when you live a routine that no longer makes sense, when you hold on to relationships that nullify you, when you work out of obligation and not for purpose, when you silence yourself out of fear, when you pretend everything is okay just to avoid questions, and then, day after day, she withdraws. It withers away, it goes off. And that's why sometimes the body is whole, but the spirit is broken, and you feel it, you know, but he's afraid to admit it, because the truth hurts. Saying my soul is tired is scary, but it is the first step towards healing. It's the first step to living again. Because while you pretend you're fine, the pain grows in silence. And a wounded soul may continue walking, but it will never feel at peace. Have you ever stopped to listen to yourself? Have you ever been silent with yourself and tried to understand where this emptiness comes from? Have you ever wondered what is really missing? Have you ever wondered if this weight you carry is not just emotional, but spiritual? There are people who think that everything can be solved with distraction, with cell phone, with series, with food, with drink. But what the soul asks for is not anesthesia. It's healing. And healing requires courage, requires a break. It requires looking inside honestly and saying, I'm not well, but I want to be again. If you've been reading this far and felt something in your chest, if you felt that these words touched a place that no one has reached, then your soul is speaking to you right now. And maybe this video isn't just any content, maybe it's the message you've been waiting for. The answer that came at the right time. The hand outstretched in the quietest moment of your tiredness. Comment below. Do you feel like your soul is asking for help? What is the strongest sign you are experiencing today? Write here without fear. Sometimes writing is the first gesture of liberation. Sometimes talking is the beginning of healing. And you are not alone. There are many people living the same thing, but in silence. If this video touched you, if you felt seen, if you felt welcomed, like it now and subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed. Here, we talk about the soul, pain, spirituality with truth. And share this video with someone you love and who, even though they are smiling, you feel like they are suffocating inside. Sometimes it's you who will be the bridge of light in someone's life. In the next section, we'll take a deep dive into the 7 clearest signs that your soul is asking for help, and how you can recognize each one before the suffering escalates. The first sign is perhaps the most common and, at the same time, the most neglected: tiredness that does not go away with rest. No matter how much you sleep, how much you try to relax, the body wakes up, but the soul remains exhausted. It's like something is draining your energy from inside. You feel without strength, without motivation, as if each step were a weight. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever woken up more tired than you went to sleep? And the worst thing is that on the outside, everything seems normal, but inside the world collapses in silence. Another sign is the disconnection with everything that once did you good. That hobby that used to give you pleasure now no longer makes sense. That song that made you smile now no longer touches you. You start to move away from people, from your faith rituals, from your own essence. It's like I'm living on autopilot. Have you ever found yourself feigning interest in something that previously enchanted you? Have you ever realized that you are existing but not living? This could be your soul saying, I no longer recognize myself here. And when the soul is in pain, it begins to express itself through unregulated emotions. The crying comes out of nowhere. Anger explodes for any reason. Sadness sets in even on beautiful days, and you can't understand why. It's like you're carrying something much bigger than you can explain. Have you ever felt like crying and didn't know why? Have you ever had emotional crises without a visible cause? Have you ever felt emotionally vulnerable for days at a time, even though you tried to hide it? And then you try to escape this emptiness. And without realizing it, you start to hide behind distractions that become crutches. Cell phones all the time, videos in sequence, excessive food, impulse purchases. Anything that stops you from feeling what's inside. Because looking inside hurts, but also running away. Have you ever felt like you're seeking refuge in what doesn't fulfill you? Have you ever noticed that you are numbing yourself with distractions because facing silence is too burdensome? Sometimes the soul screams through the body, and then physical symptoms appear without a medical explanation. Strange pains, muscle tension, shortness of breath, palpitations, and after several tests the doctors say, you're fine, but you know you're not. Because the pain that is in the body began in the soul, and there is no medicine that can cure what has been ignored for so long. Have you ever been through this? Have you ever felt pain that no one could explain? Have you ever had anxiety attacks that seemed to come out of nowhere? And then comes the 6th sign, the constant feeling that something is wrong, even though everything seems right. It's as if there was an internal warning telling you that something needs to change, that some part of you is forgotten, that life needs to have purpose again. It's a silent but insistent discomfort. Have you ever had this feeling? That you are off your axis, off the path, even though you don't know where to start again. And finally, the 7th sign is almost always ignored: spiritual silence. You try to pray, but the words don't come out. He tries to meditate, but he can't concentrate. Go to church, the temple, the altar, but feels disconnected, as if he were alone even in faith. And that hurts more than any other sign. Why, when until the sacred seems distant, the soul feels abandoned? But she was not abandoned. She's just asking you to come back to yourself. May it reconnect. May you look within with love, not with fear. And now that you've heard these signs, how many of them are you experiencing today? How many have you ignored? How many have you never had the courage to admit even to yourself? Comment here. He writes, "Speak to your soul through words. You might be surprised at the relief it brings. If this video touched your heart somewhere, like it now and share it with someone you feel is suffering in silence. And if you're not yet a subscriber, subscribe to the channel right now. Activate the bell, because in the next videos, I will show you how to listen to your soul, how to reconnect with your essence, and how to really start the spiritual healing process. You are not alone. Your soul just wants to breathe again. And the healing journey begins the moment you decide to listen to what's inside.